Welcome to SPF Talk, the show that brings you the inside scoop on the SPF and Polyurea industries. Hi, my name is Jay Davidson, and I'm the CEO of Spray Foam Insider. Today's topic is how to take advantage of what the Polyurea Development Association, also called PDA, has to offer. My guest today is Benji Abbot. Benji is the chair of the Education Comity for the PDA and an instructor for Polyurea training. He's also an education field director for Specialty Products Incorporated. And also, he is sitting past president on the board of directors for the PDA as well. Thanks for joining us today, Benji. I'd like to ask a few questions to start out about the types of polyurea training that the PDA has to offer.
Okay. Yes, thanks for having me. PDA offers basic and also advanced polyurea training courses. Years ago, the training course was combined into basically one training course, and we thought that there was a need in the industry for not only a basic course, but also a course that went in a little more in-depth to the advanced level, particularly for your supervisors, your people that is doing the estimating up on the projects. So we get a little more in-depth into the systems.
Does the training or a portion of the training have a hands-on component?
Yes, during the basic polyurea training course, every attendee gets a chance to get behind various different spray guns that is used within the polyurea industry. They get to see the equipment working. It's not a hands-on approach that they get to actually do a lot of spray work. It basically gets them in contact with the materials being used, some of the equipment, so that then they can take that experience into the field and then adapt that into their field experience, to where that then they build upon that knowledge and increase their work skill.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. How often do you see SPF contractors or their employees taking courses in polyurea applications?
You know, in the past probably 5 years, I'm seeing more and more SPF contractors coming in to wanting to basically increase their portfolio of the abilities of projects that they can do. And polyurea seems to fit pretty well with most of them.
Okay. I understand that some of the same equipment can be used for both SPF and polyurea. So what kind of equipment changes are required to use SPF equipment for polyurea applications?
Well, that is a very good question, and that's one that comes up a lot. And basically, the proportioning equipment is somewhat the same as what is being used for some polyurea applications. The only exception is with the SPF equipment, they typically have a maximum pressure range of 2,000 psi, and with the polyurea processing equipment is typically from 3,000 to 3,500 psi. So with that being said, there is polyurea formulations out there that will process and build good properties at that lower pressure range, at pressures, dynamic pressures below 2,000 psi. But the installer has to realize that there may be some sacrifice on overall physical properties. So with that, it's not saying that the material that they're making will not work. It's just that it will not be as strong of properties as what they would achieve with the higher pressure equipment. So there is some specific polyurea formulations that may be for extreme heavy-duty chemical resistance. or heavy abrasion resistance, those materials typically would not perform well when sprayed or proportioned through these lower pressure proportioning systems. But you take the polyureas for some of your like secondary containment systems, some of your floor coating systems, your truck bed liners. Most of those will process these materials just fine, with the exception of the installer will need to understand that they need to take their spray gun mixing chamber down to a lower size or lower output to be able to keep that dynamic pressure as high as possible.
Thank you for that clarity. How do you think that SPF contractors, or other contractors for that matter, can benefit from polyurea training? One thing that comes to mind is that it would allow them to have more diversification for what they are offering. In other words, offering more services and having more opportunities to obtain income.
Yeah, well, it can diversify them. It can make, again, like I said before, their portfolio bigger to be able to offer more services. They can keep their equipment working longer, especially during some off seasons. They can pick up some polyurea work.
Thank you. I know polyurea is a highly durable product with so many uses. It's really difficult to count them all. Can you tell me a little about some of the major applications that you're seeing? For example, the people who are coming to your training. What are you seeing a lot of folks doing?
Well, secondary containment, especially inside of the oil fields, is really a hot topic. You have floor lining systems. You still have your truck bed liners. Your truck bed liners. So that's where the polyurea, I'll say, craze got started many years ago, and people still pick up side work from doing their buddies and people inside of their communities truck bed linings. There's just a wide range of different type of applications, and the person deciding to go into it needs to try to find that niche area that makes them different, but they want to be able to ensure that they're putting down a good quality material.
Mm-hmm. Yes, in my investigations, I just found endless applications for polyurea.
Yes, it's basically applied to most substrates. Concrete is one very popular substrate. Steel, then also aluminum, and then also your geotextile fabric, so that you have a not such a great substrate. Then you can substitute in a geotextile fabric in order to make a good durable lining system.
Mm-hmm. Well, I understand that surface preparation is absolutely vital for all polyurea applications. For example, can you tell us some differences, if there are any differences, on surface preps for, let's say, metal versus concrete, or some of the other typical substrates?
Well, with that one there, I could probably go for a half day.
I bet you could.
In all of the training classes that I do, and I do quite a few training classes each year, it is very strong on the surface preparation guidelines, and the installer needs to really follow the recommended procedures set forth by their material supplier. And we typically follow standards set out by associations such as SSPC and NACE. And then also for our international customers, there's also ISO standards. And those standards, such as for steel, we typically follow by SSPC SP10 near white abrasive blasting, and then also SSPC SP5 white metal blast. So those two are abrasive blasting standards. And then for concrete, we typically use SSPC SP13, joint standard NACE number 6, and then also we incorporate in with the ICRI, which is the International Concrete Repair Institute's 310.2R standard with their surface profile replica plaques to ensure that, because concrete is one of the monsters that can give installers problems, because concrete is never the same.
Yes, so doing it right and having that training is going to make a huge difference.
Well, yes, and I always say we never have time to do it right the first time, but we always have time to do it over again. And you got to do it right the first time. If you're not going to, you're better off just not doing it at all.
Oh, thank you for bringing that point to our attention. According to Global Market Insights, the polyurea market size is expected to exceed $1.59 billion by the year 2022. Would you agree with that figure? And if so, where are you seeing polyurea applications growing the fastest?
Well, as far as the dollar figure, myself, I really have no knowledge of that. That's, I guess, one area I sort of stay away from. I leave that up to the salespeople. I focus on the education and the field technical portion to try to ensure that the installers are following according to the job specifications, and they're actually just doing good, because we don't need failures within the polyurea industry. They have to realize that polyurea isn't just a coating; it is a technology of a coating system. So there's hundreds and thousands of different formulations of different systems. But as far as the types of polyurea applications that are growing the fastest, they really change. The oil and gas industry seems to be coming back up strong, so people are gearing up for the secondary containment systems inside of the oil fields. The water and the wastewater, industry is probably the one that stays the most stable. So it really does vary as far as the industries. They come and they go, but your most stable is the water and the wastewater side.
The infrastructure. I know that our infrastructures are crumbling, and in my mind, I'm thinking that some of this high dollar amount that we're seeing in this growth and expansion could be due to the need for repair of our infrastructures.
It is. It is, and it really varies on by city, by city, and also state by state. Okay.
So what is the website for people to find out more about the PDA and polyurea training?
Well, the PDA website is pda-online.org.
All right. Well,
and there is a education tab, and they can pull that tab down and go and find all of the information, and then they can also feel free to give the office a call and talk to Meredith or one of the other ladies there inside of the office.
Well, great. Thank you for that, and thank you so much for joining us today, Benji, and for telling us about the polyurea industry and the training that PDA offers. Again, that PDA website is pda-online.org. I'm Jay Davidson, CEO of Spray Foam Insider, and this is SPF Talk, the show that cuts through the jargon, gets to the point, and saves you time and money. To visit our website, go to sprayfoaminsider.com. Thank you for joining us.